We got a thumbs up.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight. Call this meeting to order, and if you would stand, the Vice Mayor will have our invocation and lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
Gracious God, we thank you for your love in times of hardship and sorrow, as well as in times of many gifts that you've given us. We are truly grateful. Thank you for the blessings you have bestowed on our people. We give thanks for our community, serve in so many ways, and we humbly ask your guidance as we discuss items that affect the lives of our citizens. Please give us discernment, patience, mercy, and kindness as we make those be with us. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Thank you, Kerry. Next item on our agenda is our audience for visitors. If there's anyone in our audience, I know there are some that are here for one of the public hearings. They'll have an opportunity to speak at that time. Is anyone else that'd like to address council on any issue? Okay. Seeing none, let's move on to the approval of our minutes from our last meeting, please.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt our minutes of the regular session of September 27th, 2021.
Okay.
Second.
Made and seconded that we adopt our regular session minutes from September 27, 2021. Ms. Kim, please.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilman Huck.
Aye.
Councilman Fye.
Aye.
Councilman Southall.
Aye.
Councilwoman Andrews.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman.
Aye.
Mayor Hessel.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 7-0.
Okay, thank you, Kim. We have two public hearings tonight. The first is a conditional use permit requested by CBC Rentals, LLC. Mr. Cannella?
Mr. Manager, for you tonight is a conditional use permit request for CBC Rentals, and Mr. Mayor, I'll try and be brief, but have a short presentation for you. Okay, the conditional use permit is the applicant is CBC Rentals, as we mentioned, and the purpose of it is to convert current office units to a maximum of 10 residential units. And you'll see the picture there of the office building located at 538 Wythe Creek Road. Why this requires a conditional use permit, Mr. Mayor, is that in the B2 district, residential units are not permitted, but if you grant them a conditional use permit, they'll be able to convert the office spaces to living spaces. Here's an aerial view of the location. You can see it indicated by the arrow. We just recently dealt with a conditional use permit in this location. You'll notice the vacant field there is where Mayor's will be constructed, just for reference. There's a couple pictures of the exterior building. The one on the left is the front of the building. The one on the right is where the doors are to access the office units. Here's the opposite side of the building. Mr. Mayor, these are some pictures of the interior of a few of their office spaces. Conceptually would be converted to living areas, and you can see that those are sitting areas of the office spaces that are there now. These are interior restrooms. You can see the one on the left is a half bath in one of the office units, and the one on the right is a full bathroom in one of the office units. Obviously, Mr. Mayor, these are not bedrooms in their current use, but could be converted if the conditional use permit is granted. Just wanted to give you these pictures for size reference. Mr. Mayor, this is the existing floor plan of some of the units submitted with the application by the applicant, Mr. McClellan. This, Mr. Mayor, is a proposed floor plan for the conversion, and it's conceptual, but gives you an idea of how Mr. McClellan would convert the spaces to residential units. The Planning Commission recommended denial of the application by a vote of 3-2 at their September 20th, 2021 meeting. The primary reason for recommending denial is that 3 of the commissioners had reservations about residences in the B2 district. There are currently residences in the B2 district, Mr. Mayor. There are 2 homes right by each other that I've referred to it as the Zooms, or the old 7-Eleven, 420 and 430 Wythe Creek Road, shown here. There's another residence at 500 Wythe Creek Road, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, right there at Firth Lane and Wythe Creek. This is a 4-plex and has been for a number of years, Mr. Mayor, and I'm sure some of you will remember. I don't, because I wasn't alive, but I know, because we keep great records, that this building actually burned down in the early 90s, and its use was discontinued for longer than the allowable period of time. And the Board of Zoning Appeals in 1998 actually gave the owners permission to rebuild the 4-plex in the B2 district. These are homes that were previously located at 353 and 359 Wythe Creek Road that were demolished this summer. And the reason for including them in the presentation, Mr. Mayor, is that they are still relevant, given they were still standing. I believe in June they were demolished, and the property owners do have the right to rebuild those homes within 2 years of demolition. So there could be homes on those plots again. 4 conditions of the permit as presented, Mr. Mayor. The one is pretty generic, that the use must comply with all local, state, federal permits, licenses, and regulations. No more than 10 residential units shall be created upon the issuance of a conditional use permit. It means exactly how it reads. There could be 3, there could be 4, but there can at no point be more than 10. If at any time the specified use on the property is discontinued for a period of 2 or more years, the permit shall become null and void. And, Mr. Mayor, that City Council reserves the right to review and amend the conditions of the permit as they see fit. Mr. Mayor, I'll be happy to go back over the PowerPoint as requested or answer any questions.
All right, Thomas, good job. Are there questions of Thomas before we open the public hearing?
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
So that 4-plex that's on the side of car wash,
Yes, ma'am.
so was residential allowed when that was built, or did they also get?
I don't know about the zoning map when it was originally constructed and if that was a B2 district. But I do know after it was discontinued and the owners had to go back to the Board of Zoning Appeals, that the B2 district had been created, and they were granted permission to rebuild and continue the use after the district was created.
I can expand on that just a little bit. Those apartments were built a long time ago, okay? When I was a senior in high school, Mom was a single parent, Dad passed when I was a kid, and we lived in one of those. So I went to Poquoson High School when I lived in those apartments, okay? And so they were residences back then, okay? And at that time, there was an L shape there, and they were owned by Jimmy Moore, and he sold the back portion of those, and some of them are now up on Route 17 being used as business places on Route 17. The other ones stayed there as residences. They had a fire, and I can't tell you what the insurance issue was, but it took them a long time to rebuild. And then sometime after that, the business zone was established, okay, but they were allowed to rebuild the residential area because they were.
Okay, thank you, Bud. Any other questions of Thomas? Yes, sir?
Yes, that's about almost a 10-year-old photograph there.
Yes, sir. The date on it is April 11, 2012.
Yeah, I drove by there over the weekend, and no offense to the individuals that live there, but that's a nice picture compared to what it is right now. And that's one of the first things that started worrying me, because now there's trash cans out in front and recycle bins out in front. And I envision that, and I envision the property that we're about to talk about. So that's
Okay.
something to consider.
Any other questions
Are
of
you
Thomas?
finished, Keith? What, are you finished with your comment?
I am.
Bud, are you getting ready to do a motion?
I want to do some comments before motion.
Okay, let's do
We
let's
we
do the
have that
public hearing
later.
first,
This
and
is
then
just
we'll
for
move on.
Thomas's
All right,
question.
very
Are
good.
there any other questions of Thomas? Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, let's open the public hearing then, and if there's anyone in the audience that would like to address this conditional use permit, we'd be delighted to hear from you. Roger, I think you do. Thank you for being here, sir.
Good evening, Mayor Housel and members of the council. My name is Roger McClellan. I'm the president of Marquee Homes and also the president of CBC Rentals. I currently reside at 6 Forest Road. That in and of itself is a shock to me, because for 35 years I've lived down Pasture Road down near Mr. Moore. I'm a residential builder and remodeler by trade. Began my business in 1984, shortly after moving to Poquoson. My father-in-law built the building in question. Bob Bunting, my son wrote this. He built it in the late 80s, I think. And I moved my office out of my home, or should I say, Debbie moved my office out of my home. And we moved up to the office at 538 Wythe Creek Rd. Around 1990. My business has never been based anywhere but Poquoson. I'm a living testament to the Poquoson is the place motto that the EDA instills. My business has always been here in Poquoson, and I've supported our leagues and organizations while my kids grew up here, and now my grandchildren. Unfortunately, I have had an increasingly difficult time finding tenants for our commercial space. My last tenant vacated in 2018, and I have actively marketed the property since, to no avail. I'm asking for approval to convert some of my office to residential units. The building is on a slab and would be designed to accommodate ADA compliance and folks with those types of needs. We have ample parking to meet any necessary city codes. Our design team, along with Mr. Somerset, will see that we meet all the city, state, and national building codes required. And I respectfully ask for your consideration for approval. And
Hey.
I'll answer any questions anybody.
Any questions of Roger?
Yes, you said some of the units to housing? You're not
Yeah,
gonna
we're not going to
convert-
convert all 10 at the same time. We're going to slowly, we'll convert 2 or 3, check on absorption, and then we'll move we're going to start from the front and move to the back.
You don't know how many you're going to convert, how many units it will be?
But we'd like to convert all 10.
Well, I mean, it's not 10 now, so you'd have to,
Well, we have the ability to do 10, we think.
that's your plan to do 10?
Well, it's eventually. I've got to relocate my office if I do all 10. I've got to find another place for my office. And I sort of have a backup plan for that.
So you're going to continue to run your business from there?
Yes, sir.
I know, I watched the Planning Commission meeting recording, and the questions that came up, which is a concern of mine too, is if renters come in and they have children and or pets, there's absolutely no green space except around the back of the building, which is not going to have door access. You'd have to physically walk around it, except in the back. And you had talked about at that time that when you had 5 or more units occupied, that you would basically consider that.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Hey, but you're still going to have construction vehicles in the back that people with children and or pets have to wrestle with?
Well, we would, again, that would be a plan for us to relocate our office to another location. I'm not going to do it immediately, but we'll do it as absorption takes place. And based on the housing needs in Poquoson, I think that'll be pretty quick.
So you have an approximate size of these apartments that you can go on? I saw the little drawing.
Yeah, they're going to vary in size. I think we showed an efficiency, a one-bedroom, and I think a two-bedroom. So the efficiency would be the top left, and then a one-bedroom would be the next unit. See, living, kitchen, one-bedroom, and then the next unit over would be a two-bedroom. And that's from the front of the building working backwards.
Right. And you have about 6,500 square foot in the building right now.
I think that's about right, yes.
And so each one, of course, you got the efficiency one there, 600 square feet or less, thereabouts.
Yes.
Are there any other questions of Roger? Hey, Roger, thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Appreciate it. Okay, we'll close the public hearing, and Bud?
Yeah, some of my questions were just now answered, okay? And I stopped by the property today. I've been by that property twice, and I was concerned about the play, and I was concerned about access to fire codes because of an incident that happened to my family some years back. And I've had all those concerns addressed, okay? Understand that Mr. McCullen has to still meet all the building code requirements, and he says codes, and so they became not an issue. But in our conversation today, and he was extremely friendly and upfront with all this conversation, that he was going to do what he just now told Keith Fay, that he was going to convert some of those apartments into well, I apologize, I didn't do that.
That's your wife.
Dog, okay. But he told me that he was going to convert some of those apartments and move his office from the front to the back and run his business while he was still converting to apartments. That's the first conversation I heard of that none of that was in our package. And I was also concerned with some of the things Keith just brought up. Well, what about children, something playing parking lot as narrow as it is with his business still running there and the construction equipment in the back? The package said after 5, that would be converted to green space. But what about the first 2 or 3? Okay, and so I didn't know about those. I do know that the planning commission voted no on it. And in the beginning, I was a hard no for that. I did talk with Buddy Green, who convinced me that, we did need some affordable housing in Poquoson, and maybe this was a good way to get it. So I got converted from a hard no to a definite maybe, okay? And then today when I went by to look at it one more time to see if I could get me a yes out of it, I ran into Mr. McCullen and his son, 2 fine gentlemen, by the way, talked to me very friendly and were up front with what their plans were, which I heard for the very first time. I knew none of the other city council members had heard that same conversation. And so, all that being said, I also looked at the presentation in that package. Now, there was a floor plan in the package on the proposed drawing, okay? That gave me some concern also, because it's clear right there, okay? It's clear on that drawing, those are 2 apartments, okay?
That's 3.
On that package, okay?
That's 3.
Okay, the bathrooms were not clearly defined. There was nothing that said bath. And I thought it was all one apartment. It had 2 kitchens, 2 living rooms, and I didn't see anything that said bathroom. I was concerned about that. Okay? And then when we had a conversation today, okay, well, I was wrong about that, and he's going to still have to meet the codes. I heard the conversation about, well, we're going to have some up front, and I'm from a business, and I was concerned about the equipment in the back and no green space, okay? And so my preference is that I'm not a hard no anymore, okay? I'm a definite maybe, but I'm a definite maybe because of the residences that were shown in our package. Every one of them was built way before the B2 business zones were established, okay? The business zones was put around the residences. And this will be the very first time that we put a residence in the middle of that B2 zone. And we established that on purpose because we wanted to keep the city of Poquoson the nice, friendly, warm place that it has always been, and we wanted to separate commercial business from residences. And here we are for the very first time putting a residence in the middle of commercial space. And I remember when the people bought Kiln Creek, and they were next to the airport, and the first thing they started hearing was conversation about, you got to do something about that airplane noise. Lines that used to come into Patrick Henry were told, okay, you can't come in before this time, and you can't depart after this time, and they had to change their flight schedules, okay? And then as being a commercial pilot myself, we were presented with some special departure procedures that we had to comply with for noise avoidance, okay? Same thing happened over in Virginia Beach near Naval Norfolk, okay? So here we are putting commercial residences in the middle of a business district, and when they get there, they may well say, you know, city council, we got a complaint. Those businesses staying open too long, staying too late, okay? We need to put restrictions on their operating times. Ourselves up to do exactly what we tried to separate when we made that a business zone. So I'm still on the fence. I don't know about that, and I'd like for you to think about that yourself. And what I'd like to do is propose that we postpone the vote on this and let Mr. McClellan come back with the definite plans of what he really wants to do, what it's going to look like, how it's going to be, and so that I know for sure what I'm voting do it. I'm not a definite no, and I'm not a definite yes, but I'd like to get those questions answered and let it be clear.
Let's see if there's any more questions, and then we'll ask for your motion. Any other questions? Okay.
I move that we postpone the vote on this until Mr. McClellan comes back and presents the plan of what he wants to do, how he wants to do it. Maybe it will be compatible with the planning commission, and maybe not, but I'd like that to be presented so I know what I'm voting for.
I'll second that motion. I'm leaning toward the no. I kind of feel like, again, new to this business, that they went to mom and asked permission, and mom said no, so we'll just go and ask dad. And I feel like I'm in the dad position here, so I'd just as soon have more time to look at it, so I'll second that.
Until our next meeting? Until our next meeting.
That'll be fine.
Okay. Is that all right with everybody? Okay, so we had a motion, we had a second, we postpone this item until our next meeting. And we had a second, so Ms. Kim?
Councilwoman Andrews?
Aye.
Councilman Thigh?
Aye.
Councilman Southall?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman?
No.
Councilman Hux?
Aye.
Council
No.
Mayor Hessel?
No.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 4-3.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. All right, let's move on to our next public hearing. It's an ordinance making additional appropriations for fiscal year 2022 for the Special Revenue Grant Fund. Randy?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, members of council. The item before you this evening, as council is aware, we have received as a city one half of $14,573,000, $490 from $14,573,490. Sorry, sometimes the mask makes me feel a little dizzy. We have received the first component of that. We'll receive the second half in June of this coming year. These are federal money from the Federal American Rescue Plan Act, which the acronym for that is ARPA, and that's how we'll refer to it going forward. What we're asking you to do this evening is to appropriate that first half that we received, and the plan that we're recommending to you is largely, it's designed to deal with the things we feel we should deal with in a very short term, and that is support for our businesses to continue business assistance grants for things associated with and economic damage and challenges associated with the continuing COVID issue, assistance to residents as they deal with the same thing. And what's envisioned there in this amount is that we use that money between the United Way, an effort that they're working on with localities, and also York Poquoson Social Services to address the specific qualifying needs of our residents. Any money that that they might be temporarily holding on our behalf if it's not used for our residents for eligible expenses, it comes back to us. Lastly, in terms of right out of the gate components, we're asking your support for an allocation of $125,000 for administrative support. And this is one of those things, we'll only use it if we need it. But the largest thing that we will use it for, most important, I should say, is independent eligibility determinations on these expenditures. As council is aware, there are plenty of restrictions that come with this money, and we want to do what we can to make sure that we spend it in a manner consistent with the somewhat ever-changing federal guidelines, because if we fail to do that correctly, future versions of us in future years may be required to pay it back. So we want to go through that due diligence process. We also have built into that arrangement, if we need it, only pay for it if you need it, but you build in the capacity to do it, is procurement support, depending upon how many projects we ultimately decide, what council ultimately decides we want to move forward, we may need some assistance on that. As you know, we don't have our own procurement department. We may or may not need assistance there. So the contemplated contract gives us that capability. Again, we'll only pay for it if we need it. The balance, 6.8, a little more than 6.8 million, we're asking to go ahead and appropriate in lump sum, and then we will come back to you at the end of the eligibility determination process with what we think are some eligible projects for your consideration. So none of that $6.8 million will be spent without your express approval. Additionally, the second half, $7,286,000, will also come forward. We'll do that for the next budget process, and that will be the same. None of it will be spent without your express approval as council. So that's what we have for you tonight. Be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions, Randy? Did we do one just like this last meeting? Or?
Very similar.
Okay.
Randy, on that section 2 there,
Yes, sir.
125,000, is that the same 125,000 that's up above?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
If I could.
Sure.
As council is aware, the city procurement policy states that any contract for an amount greater than $100,000 requires specific approval by council. So this is, if you approve it, giving me the authorization to sign that contract. Again, we won't use any of that money unless we need it, but it would allow me to sign basically that capacity contract on behalf of the city.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Now we'll open the public hearing and ask if there's anyone in our audience who would like to address this ordinance, whether you're for or against. I don't think there's anyone here that's going to do either one. So we'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
Mayor, I move that we adopt an ordinance making additional appropriation fiscal year 2022 in the Special Revenue Grant Fund.
Thank you, Buddy. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion made and seconded that we adopt the ordinance. Kim, please.
Councilman Fye,
Aye.
Councilwoman Andrews,
Aye.
Councilman Green,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman,
Aye.
Councilman Southall. Councilman Hux,
Aye.
Mayor Hustle. Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 7-0.
Okay, thank you, Kim. Let's move on to new business. First item, an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Poquoson, Virginia, adopting the Virginia Uniform Statewide Building Code, Virginia National and International Codes by reference as it pertains to the building code. Mr. Canella. Sir.
This, Mr. Mayor, is really just a housekeeping ordinance. It's just to reflect the updates to state code and our code. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions of Thomas? All right. Seeing none, thank you, sir. Someone have a motion?
Mayor, I move that we adopt an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Poquoson, Virginia by adopting the Virginia Uniform Statewide Building Code, Virginia National and International Codes by reference as it pertains to the building code.
All right, thank you, sir. Here a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Terry. All right, we have a motion made second, we adopt the ordinance. Ms. Kim?
Councilman Hux.
Aye.
Councilman Southall.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman.
Aye.
Councilman Green,
Aye.
Councilwoman Andrews,
Aye.
Councilman Fye,
Aye.
Mayor Hustle.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 7-0.
Okay, thank you, Kim. Second item on the new business, a resolution making an appointment to the Wetlands Board.
Mayor, I
Green.
Mayor, I move that we adopt a resolution making the Wetlands Board with the name Steve G. Pappas from the Western Precinct inserted. His term will expire October 31st, 2026.
Okay, thank you, buddy.
Second.
All right, well, motion made and seconded twice. We adopt the resolution with that name inserted. Any other questions, concern, or comments? If not, Ms. Kim?
Councilman Southall,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman,
Aye.
Councilman Hux, Councilman Green,
Aye.
Councilman Fye,
Aye.
Councilwoman Andrews,
Aye.
and Mayor Hustle.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 7-0.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Item 3, on the new business, a resolution canceling the second meetings of the months of October, November, and December 2021.
Mayor, I move that we adopt a resolution canceling those meetings.
Okay?
Second.
Motion made and seconded, we adopt that resolution. Any other concerns or comments? All right, Ms. Kim?
Vice Mayor Freeman,
Aye.
Councilwoman Andrews,
Aye.
Councilman Southall,
Aye.
Councilman Fye,
Aye.
Councilman Hux, Councilman Green,
Aye.
and Mayor Hustle.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 7-0.
Okay, thank you, Kim. Our last item is the Halloween issue, but changing from Sunday night to Saturday night. Are there concerns about that? I think I spoke with all of you about that, and I think we were all on board about changing that date, so unless we,
Mayor, I move that we change the observance of Poquoson for Halloween from Sunday, October 31st to Saturday, October 30th.
thank you, sir.
Now, we're moving trick or treat, not Halloween. I think that's important, as silly as it is.
I agree.
What, trick or treat?
We're not changing the holiday date permanently.
Right. We are just moving trick or treat.
I think you said the observance.
Trick or treat, huh?
Yeah,
Right.
that's what
That's
I
new,
said.
okay.
Second.
All right, we have a motion made and seconded that we adopt Buddy's motion. I forgot what it was, John. Did somebody second it? I'm sorry.
I did.
Okay, thank you, John. All right, let's, Ms. Kim, let's have a vote, please.
Councilwoman Andrews. Aye. Councilman Fye,
Aye.
Councilman Southall,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman,
Aye.
Councilman Hux,
Aye.
Councilman Green, and Mayor Hustle.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 7-0.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Mr. City Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few items this evening. One, I want to thank you and council for your vote with regarding the appropriation this evening. Looking forward to working with you on the allocations of those larger amounts in the coming months. I would like to thank Tanya and Kim and Christy for their work in my absence last week in putting this package together and planning for this meeting. And I would note a couple of things. Council, I'm sure, has likely observed at least one, if not both, the significant portion of the newest of our micro parks. And for those of you that weren't around when we came up with this definition, it's just a little small addition to our walking area on Wythe Creek. You know, the first one we did is in front of Fire Company 2. It's got a bench, some landscaping, and the light. We've put a larger area in immediately to the right, but adjacent to Dominion Village. And it's done in partnership with them, the folks at Dominion Village. And you'll see that the pavers are in and the benches are in, and we are working towards a handicapped accessible picnic table there as well. And that is open not just to the residents and their visitors, but to the city as well. And provides an opportunity for folks to spend time together. And so that's the second one, and it's not quite finished, but the pavers are down, and you certainly, the public is invited to use it with more to come. And then the third one, which you helped with, Mr. Mayor, will be in front of the Taylor's Do It Center Shopping Center, roughly in front of Tropical Smoothie. There's a little area as you come in to the right. It'll be a different size, but that's our third one. We plan to have that one done by the end of this calendar year as well. Thanks there go to Tom Jones, Mark Boson, and Dave Callis, as well as the mayor who helped us, particularly with the Wythe Shopping Center. Thanks to all those folks. And you may have also observed some work being done in the entrance corridor to the city the last couple of weeks. As you know, we work in partnership with all of our neighbors, York County, probably more often than any other. And they asked us if we could take over maintenance right of way there and Victory as you go from the city line to that first traffic light. And we have agreed to do that on a one-year trial basis. But we've got equipment that they don't have, and it is the gateway to our city. And particularly for our visitors, when they cross that light, they sort of think they're in Poquoson anyway. So that's a partnership that we're working on. So that's why you saw city crews out there. And if you've been by there lately, it really does look impressive. It looks different, but I think it looks very well cared for and intentional. And before it was kind of a wild, overgrown area. And so thanks to Public Works. And just wanted to explain to you what that was. You don't often see us working outside the city limits, but that's what that was, and it'll only go up to the light. And that's all I have.
All right. Is that similar to on Wythe Creek, the Hampton area? We tend to trim it up a little further out than the city line.
We have, from time to time, cut back some of the growth on the causeway.
Right.
As you may know, somebody took a real scalping to that area between the guardrail and the HRSD lines. That wasn't the city of Hampton, that was HRSD, in fact, and one of their contractors. We have talked to them and encouraged them to maybe treat that in a different way. And it is possible that when we're done with our trial program with York, that if we can do it successfully and without problem, we may offer to do the same thing with Hampton across the causeway, since it is more the gateway to Poquoson than it is the gateway to Hampton. And we may be able to work something out. And as council will recall, in terms of Hampton, they do all our traffic light and traffic engineering for us at no cost. So we certainly can pitch in to help them as well. They're good partners, as is York County.
If we maintain that part of York County for a year, does that give us squatters' rights so we can take it?
No, sir. Adverse possession doesn't work against the local government in Virginia. Although I defer to the city attorney if he'd like to correct me on that.
But that area looks noticeably better
Yes, sir,
as
it
you
does.
drive out of town.
Yes, it does.
Hey, council, any comments, Bud?
Yes. Before I forget, with my Randy, thank you very much for those comments, because my wife and I happened to be driving into the city the day they started cleaning up that area, and I saw the city of Poquoson sign on the side of the truck, and they were busy over there working, and my wife said, "Boy, they're cleaning this area up." And I said, "Well, it's because it's not in Poquoson. Poquoson doing working in York County, okay?" we know the reason why, but you know what? I suggested that was the reason why. I said, well, it kind of looks like you're coming into Poquoson from here. We would probably have a work agreement with York County for us to do that, okay? So I'm not going to bother with asking the question why. I'm just glad it was done, okay? And it does look very nice, so thank you very much for doing that.
Thank you. I'll pass that on to Public Works.
A couple of other comments. I frequently thank the citizens here and at home for paying attention to the city government, okay? I continue to do that and ask that they invite their neighbors and more people do that, okay? We did something tonight that I absolutely hate doing. I voted yes for the international building codes, okay? Okay. I didn't do that because I thought it was a good idea. I did it because the state mandated that I have to do it, okay? And if the state's going to mandate that I have to do it, why do they bring it to the city council for us to vote on it if we have to do it anyway, okay? So I hate that vote. I seriously do, okay? I don't want it to look like, as a representative of the city, I think it's a good idea, because I don't, okay? California doesn't deal with high tides and hurricanes. They have earthquakes and boulders falling out of the mountains, okay? I don't think their building codes necessarily reflect those that we might need in the city of Poquoson, okay? So I did it because I was mandated to, not because I thought it was a good idea. And I ask you to invite your friends to pay attention to your government. I think it's important. I don't like politicians, and I am one. Thank you very much, and y'all have a nice week.
All right, Bud, thank you. Jana?
Just wanted to wish everybody a happy Halloween. Be safe, watch for the kids, and enjoy your Saturday trick-or-treating this year.
Okay, thank you. Kerry?
Yes, and I thank the city for, we're just making improvements all over town, as Randy talked about, the 2 or 3, you call them mini parks, I believe?
Micro park.
Micro parks that we're putting in. And like I say, the entrance to the city just looked great and have for a while, but now Victory is starting to look as good as the other end. I represented Poquoson at BML, or Virginia Municipal League, last week and got to talk to a lot of city council persons and mayors, vice mayors from all over the state. And it just renews what I already knew, but Poquoson is just a really good town with absolutely great citizens. And it just stands out when you go and associate with a bunch from other places, listen to all the problems and stuff that they have. Just makes us realize how much, or just really how blessed we are to be here in this city. And unlike Mr. Southall, my buddy there, I'm not a politician, I'm an elected official.
David?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to welcome Mr. Wheel back from his trip up to the West Coast. Thankful he had the opportunity to travel to represent this city managers convention. Thankful for his safe trip back and forth. And also like to recognize and thank Tanya and Kim and Christy and the entire staff for stepping up and keeping things running smoothly in his absence. And I'd also like to add my comment on the way that the gateway looks now as a result of the work of the city crews. So thank you very much.
Dave, thank you. Buddy?
Mr. Mayor, just one thing, since we canceled our second meeting, chance to remind the citizens that our mobile food pantry will be Tuesday, October 26th, 2 hours from 10 to noon. Our host this time are the Poquoson Women's Club and the Poquoson Garden Club.
Okay, thanks, sir. Keith?
Yes, again, as we have canceled the second meeting of October, this is our last opportunity to remind people to vote any day between now and the 2nd of November, to include the 2nd of November with the exception of Sundays, right here in this room.
Okay, thanks, sir. I would just echo the comments of council regarding I call them pocket parks, and that's not what you call them, but I think they probably classify it as a pocket park. They really are nice. I saw some residents of that center out there, actually, yesterday, sitting on those benches. It was encouraged. Well done, Randy. I look forward to the next one. Again, the clearing that took place up there on Victory is, those guys just did a hell of a job. They just did. I had an opportunity to thank them. They were out here doing some work today, and had an opportunity to stop this morning and thank those guys for that job. It's certainly well done. We had promised the folks up in not Valmore, but up on off of Yorktown Road. Those people that backyards are Lambs Creek. We had promised them that we would keep them posted on what we were doing. We are in receipt, and you guys will have copies of this week. We are in receipt of an update from Neil Morgan and the Board of Supervisors in York County. So look for that, and there'll probably be more. I don't know how soon, but this one is put together. It's well done. It gives you prices, it gives you distances, it gives you, I think, everything that we need to know. But this is just a start, and the folks up there are aware of this, so they're happy that we do have something moving. So anyway, didn't you tell me you'd have these out this week?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Absolutely.
good deal. All right, anybody else think of anything else? If not, motion to adjourn, please.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
All right, motion made, second to adjourn. Ms. Kim?
Councilman Green. Aye. Councilman Hucks.
Aye.
Councilman Fye.
Aye.
Councilman Southall.
Aye.
Councilwoman Andrews.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you, ma'am. We are adjourned.
Mr. Mayor, before we walk away, I want to apologize for my phone ringing. I forgot to turn
That's all right.
this thing off.
You will be fined for that.